Okay. Peng things on my WhatsApp and my iPhone too. The brown skin girls and the white ones too. Girls love me and I love them too. I was on the roads when Lizzie made I Love You. We'll talk about me, better hashtag merch. Can't chat about speed on my Capman search. Shout out to my big bro Whitey, that's a bad man from Ernie. Look, I'm a boss man like Birdie, I'm a bad man like Shirley.
I got gun, Phil.
Shirley. If Graham's dead, then how am I here? How? Big man like me with a beard, look, how am I scared? How can I?
Welcome back to the Coliseum of Fantasy Knowledge. This is the IDP Fantasy Empire. Coming into week 4, just got in the books. We're recording late Monday night, right after the Monday night game. It was a pretty decent week, man. There were some lopsided games and then a lot of overtimes this week. And I got the brunt of that load of the overtimes. But the overtimes are actually competitive, and we didn't have any ties. So that's a plus.
Yeah. I had the Titans and the Eagles, and in that game, I wanted to click out at the middle of the half. It was such a bad game. Same with the Packers game. That shutout. Only shutout of the week, right?
Yeah, only shutout. Flexing the D. Flexing. Bless them. All right. So going into this week, some injuries definitely happened, and I think we'll cover those during the games, at least the ones we saw. So there's a lot of those. Definitely the middle finger incident. We'll definitely talk about that. All right, but I'm going to open up with the Dolphins at the Pats. This game was one of those that was actually like 32 minutes on condensed form, so it's kind of nice. That was like one of my short games. So for the Patriots, we had Jay Jones, cornerback, 8 total, 5 solo. We had Simon, the defensive end, with 5 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. And then we had Lawrence, that guy, the defensive end, with 5 tackles, 2 solo. So as you can kind of see, basically the Dolphins were trying to run a lot, and they were just not being successful. The Dolphins are now actually down 2 more, or another offensive lineman. Kilgore is now done for the season. He tore his bicep during the game. So basically now, looking forward for the Dolphins on their side, look to start your starter defensive lineman against the Dolphins offensive line now. So if they have a game coming up, I would streamline your starters and your D tackles in that game. All right, for the Patriots, Jay Jones, early in the game with a nice one-on-one tackle. He was really closing off the outside the entire game. Hightower reads a run play and just absolutely stuffs it. Again, this is something that we've seen from him. He has big highs, big lows. Again, didn't crack the top 3, but he was there. A bad snap leads to Van Noy getting a fumble recovery. Again, just miscommunication. The Pats' pass rush looks really good. They're making first contact with the ball carrier. They're getting the hand on behind the line of scrimmage, and that's really important. Adam Butler gets a sack. It was nice to see one from the younger guy. Again, they seem to always turn out a big guy who kind of comes out of nowhere. Adam Butler had that look. He was getting a lot of bull rushes. He was fun to watch in the middle of that defense. Jay Jackson gets a pick with a great read on the outside. Again, just reading the coverage and striking. Later on in the game, Simon gets a sack, and it was one of those sacks that he maneuvered well. He did a cut, a bull rush, and then did a kind of a sidearm and grabbed the quarterback. It was a lot of stuff in one, but if you break down every single move, it was a very impressive sack.
How impressive?
Very impressive. Impressive enough where I was actually like, this guy may not be too bad.
Like Dwayne Haskins in the fourth quarter, Dwayne Haskins in the second quarter.
At the time, it was about the fourth quarter. But, I mean, to be fair in this one, the Dolphins were just outgunned. And I'm going to get to their defensive side, but you saw a lot of the Pats that were they were able to just take what they wanted from this offensive line. So I was not surprised when I went back after watching the game and seeing that defensive ends were 2 of the top 3 scorers. Later on in the game, McCourty can't tackle Gore and gives up the shutout late in the fourth quarter. For me, I keep watching Jay Jones. I keep saying CJ. Jay Jones, he was a guy who I didn't really see the week before, but he really popped for me this week. And, this could be a guy who plays into a role. He's the guy who I was looking for waivers. I usually can never find a waiver with the Patriots. But this is a guy who I think teams will still throw at. But he's been good enough to rack up tackles. Again, 5 solo tackles in a game where really there wasn't a lot of balls thrown. So he may be a good pick for next week. Going on the Dolphins side. Oh, the Dolphins. Definitely disappointed in the run game this week for sure. But Alonzo goes 12 total, 3 solo, 3 solo out of 12 tackles. Like, come on, man. You're killing me.
This is at Miami, right?
No, this is at New England.
New England.
Yeah. I thought it was at Miami for a while because the Patriots were wearing those dark jerseys, but then I actually noticed the emblem. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. And the crowd was kind of cheering weird, I thought. But the second leading tackler was Baker, the other linebacker, with 10 total, 6 solo. And Fitzpatrick, the rookie, with 10 total, 4 solo. On this opening drive for the Patriots, the Dolphins were just giving up yards. And it wasn't necessarily because people were missing. It's just they were not – the defensive play calling was not there. It just wasn't there for them. They weren't putting guys in the right spot early on. Alonzo, I saw him start working early on and really get into the plays. He may have not been there. Again, his total, he had a lot of assists. So he was there. He just wasn't able to rack up the solos like we would like to. McCain gets rushed Tom Brady throw for a pick. I mean, it's always fun to pick off Tom Brady. Patterson gets wide open. Basically, 2 Dolphin players get crossed. I didn't go back and look to see who it was, but it was basically 2 of the corners. I think Howard was one, and I don't remember who was playing in the slot on that play, but they both got crossed up because Cordell Patterson doesn't get open because he's a good, shifty guy. He just was open because of a crossing route gone bad. Fitz comes in and kills Patterson on a bad throw. It looked good. I mean, and that was one of those plays where you're like, ooh, that's nasty. And then, like, the very next tackle he gets, he actually suplexes the ball carrier.
Suplex?
It was nice. I yelled Suplex City. Well, at least twice. I loved it. The one play that I even told Buck about last night, I even time marked it so he could go back and look at it himself, is Quinn gets his ankle broken later on in this game. And it was nasty because it was a cutback by White, and he just cut him back, and all of a sudden Quinn goes down like a sniper shot. And I really thought he got injured on the play. Like, I literally had to rewind. I'm like, did he actually get injured? Did he break his ankle? But no, it was nasty. It was one of those great cuts. Quinn did not have a very good game. He was out of position, and the week before, he was really there. He was everywhere. Yeah. This week, just not there for him. They could not stop the run. As a unit, they couldn't stop him. Michelle gets by 3 Dolphins, and then Fitz finally brings him down. Again, they can't get to the run in the backfield. That's the biggest problem. The Dolphins were not getting contact on the Patriots' running backs and wide receivers until they were already at 3 or 4 yards out. So no one was getting that work on the inside. Howard gives up a touchdown to Dorsett. I think that's embarrassing because I don't think Dorsett is that good of a wide receiver personally. So the fact that Howard had 2 interceptions last week but gives up an inside slant, which he could have made the cover on, but he was watching Tom Brady in the backfield. Quinn misses another tackle for loss opportunity. Again, he's just trying to arm tackle. For whatever reason that day, he was just off his game, I felt like. Again, I even write in my notes that the Finns can't stop the run. Basically, the Patriots run out the clock in the fourth quarter just by picking up 7-8 yards of play. For me, on my waivers for the Dolphins, if you can still go get Fitzpatrick, go get him, man, before you miss out. This kid's going to probably continue to get more tackles. I feel like really the Dolphins need to start using him in the blitz just like we've seen with Derwin James. I feel like that can really take his game to a next level and really get him that more fantasy production. So you guys in these smaller leagues that they may not play rookies as much, I'd go out and take a shot on him, put him on the bench even, because the next game's going to be at the Bengals, and you know Andy Dalton's going to probably spread the ball around. If they could figure out a zone scheme and get him coming off the edge every once in a while, I feel like that could really be a benefit to the Dolphins team. Oh, and I meant to mention earlier, the Patriots will be playing Thursday night against the Colts. So, again, the defensive ends and D linemen may have another great game.
Word. You want me to take the next one?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. We have the Jets and the Jags. Jamal Adams goes 10 for 12. That's 10 solo, 12 total. Williamson goes 6 for 9 with the pass breakup. May goes 5 for 7. Lee goes 4 for 6. And Leonard Williams and Henry Anderson both get sacks. No interceptions for this Jets unit. The defensive line is losing at the point of attack. Morris Claiborne is making big plays. He ends up making a big boy play to set the tone on the first play of the drive. What I mean by this is he comes up, squares up, makes that tackle, and he drives him into the ground. And you love seeing that, especially the first play of the series. Screen, he takes on the blocker to the outside. He shucks the block and then makes the tackle. Great play. He is playing with a knee injury. I think that should be noted. So if you do see a drop in weeks to come, As we saw this week, he did not get more than 6 total tackles, or else he would have appeared on the blotter. He forces a fumble, and he gets a fumble recovery. This guy always plays scrappy. I like watching Buster Screen, and I thought he played well in Cleveland. Not necessarily the best athlete, but what he's going to do is he's going to trail enough to give you those tackles. Shepard, the kid from
Fort Hays State.
Fort Hays State, right up the road. He ends up kicking the tackle out to make a defensive tackle on the running back. I like seeing this from this kid. We've seen flashes. He's one of those guys in Dynasty League I would be trading for because we've seen the Jets' defensive line get nasty over the years. Mm-hmm. And with this defense gelling right now and a young quarterback, they can start adding pieces for years to come that can make this defense even better. Adams is hitting so hard this week. I had to put that in my notes because there was a guy going out of bounds. I don't quite remember who it was, but he lit him up, and I thought a flag should have been thrown. But that's that throwback to old football that we all miss. Make football violent again.
Can we get a hat that says that? I've seen one hat that says that. I want one.
Yeah, one of my buddies, he has one. He's rocking it. You know, that snapback and all. But he's really coming into his own, and I love seeing that from this kid. Slow starter last year. We saw him ramp up as the season came to an end. But next guy up is Jordan Jenkins. He almost gets home with the sack, but Bortles ends up getting the ball out. Bortles kind of shakes him with his shoulders, and then he ends up tossing it away. Jordan Jenkins actually got home a couple times, but he did not get that sack. Williamson ends up tipping the ball, and Darryl Roberts, you should not be rostering Darryl Roberts. He gets the interception. Avery Williamson, same dude that tipped the ball, forces a fumble, and Johnson recovers it. Tremaine Johnson gets roasted by Dante Moncrief's deceptive speed. It's almost like he expected him to stop, and then Moncrief kept going. Ended up reeling it in and getting a touchdown. Next week, the New York Football Jets, Jets, play versus the Broncos, and I'm going to be picking up Marcus May. Reason being is a lot of people have been picking up his backup. Is it Marcus Middleton?
Middleton, yeah.
Something Middleton.
Sounds right.
But he's been playing in the absence of Marcus May. May was a guy that was picked up in the second round last season, and he was all right. He's like, but our buddy Kenny, he picked him up and rode him the whole way. Really saw the promise in this guy before we did. But as we watched every game last season, he was a guy that continually popped off the screen, and Adams kind of took that shine away from him later on in the season. So don't expect him to be the number one guy each week, but he can get you a lot of points against the Denver Broncos, who have those young wide receivers and aren't necessarily dialed in with their quarterback.
Not quite yet.
For the Jacksonville Jaguars, we have Miles Jack going 4 for 5. We have Patman going 4 for 4. He's a cornerback. Church going 3 for 3 with the sack. And Ngakwe, Darius, and Jackson all get a sack this week. The announcer once said, it was caught by Anunwa. Get that dude a steak. I was like, what? He is a tiny guy. If anybody on that team needs a steak, it's Robbie Anderson. Let's be honest. And he's going to try and steal it anyways. He ran through the secondary multiple times this game. I could not believe it. Anunwa was just shredding people. Lorente McCray got completely trashed by Anunwa. If you don't know who Lorente McCray is, you ate crap. No, I'm kidding. No one knows who.
You obviously know nothing about football.
But Gibson ends up getting a pick, and it was called back. Campbell ends up forcing a safety. Boyer tried to pick the ball, but his reaction time was so slow, he ends up punching it with his hands.
Oh, my God.
He just throws his hands up. It's like, bah.
Come on, man. Making me look bad.
Right.
I keep talking about A.J. Boyer. I like that guy.
Real quick, I want to come back to this. What was that football show that they had on, I think it was Nickelodeon, where you ended up morphing in, or maybe it's Disney, you end up morphing into that player?
I don't know.
You don't remember it? You remember it,
I think, yeah, I know. I just can't think of the name of it.
That's what you reminded me of whenever you're talking about him letting you down, Boye. You know,
Yeah.
You transforming into AJ Boye.
I just like the name; it flows really well.
Yeah,
AJ.
I just
Boye.
see him down in New Orleans sometime. You know,
On Bourbon Street.
Bayou boy. You know. Anyways, Tyler Patman, a guy that we really shouldn't be talking about, is getting abused in pass coverage. I don't expect him to get a lot of playing time, and if he is playing, someone's hurt or he's playing in the nickel. Next week they're at the Chiefs. My guy that I'm going to pick up is Gibson, and this is only because Miles Jack, Telvin Smith, Calais Campbell, and all the other studs on this team are already taken. We saw the Denver Broncos get to the quarterback, but because of the RPOs and the way they're getting the ball out so fast, I'm not going to pick up Ngakoue just because he's always a second too late this season. If he can clean that up, and I would be pleasantly surprised if it were against the Chiefs because we're in Chiefs Kingdom. I would love that. Wouldn't you, Paul?
Yes.
But Gibson, I would not be surprised if he ends up getting a pick from Mahomes. I'm calling it just like I called Eddie Jackson this week.
All right. Calling it as it sees it. All right. My next game up was Houston at the Colts. And I'm pretty sure I had them last year, and I'm pretty sure they went to overtime last year, and it was a long-ass game. I'm pretty sure. Like, after watching this, I feel like I was watching a replay of an actual other game.
Maybe it was just so long that it felt like last year.
Oh, it felt like it, for sure. Like, I think this one was like 48, 49 minutes on condensed, and the Raiders game was like an hour. I'm like, dude, this is condensed. This is like half an actual regular game.
Right.
Just a lot. But there was a lot of good football to watch in this one, too. Again, you have the rookie, Leonard, with 13 total, 8 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. You have Walker, the other rookie, with 10 total, 9 solo, 1 sack, 2 pass defenses. That'd be awesome if you had 9 sacks in one game. You have Autry.
That would be a record.
Yeah, that would be awesome. You would have Autry coming back from injury. He comes in and goes for 9 total, 7 solo, 2 sacks, and 4 tackles for losses.
Real quick, who holds the record?
For sacks in a game?
Mm-hmm. Chiefs linebacker.
The guy who's dead, right?
Yeah.
Thomas? Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I gave
And it's 6.
I gave one of my bosses at work crap because he's wearing that jersey. I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, I've never heard of him before. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, who is that? I'm like, is he on the roster now? and then I walked away. I was like, buckle up. It's just a Chiefs fan interaction you have to have sometimes.
God, Paul, that was dark.
But
On the
Autry,
podcast.
it's still funny because this is the stuff I have to deal with at work. But my boss did do something funny today. We both were wearing our hats. I had my Packers hat and he had his Chiefs hat. He put a little sign that said Super Bowl LIII. And I was like, hey, I'd take that. That'd be fine. We got Rodgers versus Brett Favre, so it'd be just fine with me, apparently. All right, back to the Colts. Early on in this game, Walker makes one of those plays that I really love, and it's something that I saw a little bit in college, is he made a great block shed, got away from the blocker, ran across to get the tackle. He basically shedded, saw the hole, hit it. I love seeing that from a linebacker. I thought that was a great play that really probably goes unnoticed. Yeah, and it does. It gets you excited to watch more tape. And he was doing this, and him and Leonard both do this really well. But again, he just attacks the hole. Leonard kind of pursued to cut it off, and he zoomed in there for the tackle. I love that stuff.
Are we seeing a young dynamic duo like Bowman and Willis?
Honestly, I was going to say that till the end, but I guess you're going to make me say
really?
it now.
Did you have that down?
I even told you last week, I feel like Leonard, Walker, and either Autry or...
Malik Hooker?
No, I'm thinking the ones they all drafted this year.
Okay.
Teray. I think those 3 could step into a great role and actually evolve here.
Stay on the lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Just stay on, because I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff. Like, honestly, I kept thinking this is probably way too soon, but comparatively, I'm seeing a lot of like Luke Kuechly, Thomas type of stuff, and I'm seeing a little bit of that. These guys are meshing really well, and it's awesome they came at the same time. They're learning the system together, and they're playing well. The Colts are stopping the run early in the first quarter, really making Houston have to work for yards. The Colts are making stops. It's really hard to pick players that are really standing out when everyone's making plays. It was really a team game for them. Walker gets a coverage sack. Jabal gets a nice-looking sack as well. Nate Harrison with a shoe tackle. Get that Madden shoestring that we hate to see. But like in real football, we're fine with that. Ward gets a sack. I mean, honestly, this is, and I'm going to probably get to this point at the very end because I think Buck covers the Seattle game this week. I'm going to kind of go in a little bit on these offensive lines, and we're going to come back to the Colts game in particular. I really like the way Walker tackles. Again, he reads and attacks. I put this in my notes a couple times just because I thought he was doing that well. Pierre Desir with a pick. Again, I like seeing guys with awesome names get picks. Autry gets another sack. Again, he's coming back off an injury, but damn, he looked good. He was just eating up that left guard, that left tackle. He was just doing what he wanted out there. And as a defensive line guy who I really like, I'm going to keep watching this kid, man. I really think he's got the stuff, especially being healthy. Just stay healthy, man. Just keep eating. And I'll say if he keeps eating on that side, that's going to open up stuff for the other rookie on that team, on that squad. So the kid out of Rutgers can actually get a little bit more play. So that's what I'm hoping for. The Colts are getting eaten on the outside in overtime. Again, this game went to overtime in case you didn't follow it.
It looked like a buffet.
Yeah, pretty much looked like a buffet. And it's just one of those, the Colts were holding them back. The Colts end up going down on the offense and going for it on fourth and failing. And then they just couldn't make enough to get a field goal, and Houston got it. I really believe Leonard should be taken by now in pretty much any fantasy league if you guys are paying attention or if anyone in your league's paying attention. But I would go out and get Walker, man. Again, he's really impressing me time after time. And honestly, really watch Autry because if he stays this consistent, he's going to be a waiver pickup next week. If you got the roster space and you want to pull it because you maybe don't have a DN that's getting you points, go ahead and take a chance and at least roster him. Next week, they're going to go to New England. Again, that's going to be a Thursday night game, a short week. So you could see some productivity there, but the Patriots' offensive line is hard to get around for these young guys. This is going to be a real test for these rookies, and I'm looking forward to that. And I never thought I'd be excited to watch the Colts versus the Patriots and actually be rooting for the Colts side. Not because I don't like the Colts, it's just the defense has been bad for like the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Do you see them going in and challenging the Patriots with Edelman back?
I think that they could shut down the run a lot better than the Dolphins can, so that might make it more interesting. Because we honestly have not had to see Tom Brady throw that much, and then when he has been throwing, it's like the wide receivers can't get open. It's Aaron Rodgers syndrome in New England. The wide receivers aren't getting open.
Right.
People aren't getting out there, and so he's trying to force balls in there.
Right, and you got Pierre Desir on the outside, I wouldn't throw his way.
Hey, he did get a pick this week, so you never know.
He got a pick 6 last week? No, it was Anthony Walker.
Yeah, it was Walker. All right, for the Houston side, you had Joseph going for 8 total, 7 solo, 1 pass defense. Matthew, the Honey Badger, going 7 for 7, 1 pass defense. Cunningham, 7 for 6, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense. Cunningham starts the game with a nasty hit on the outside. Again, just running back dump off, and he got dumped off on his ass. It was nice. I loved it. Joseph and Colvin both missed tackles on the same play. Just embarrassing to have 2 corners close in on a guy and both miss on really no juke move, no special moves, anything like that. Spencer Wright gives up the inside for a touchdown. Bad snap leads to a Clowney touchdown in the end zone. Again, just muffled. A sack by Clowney to the other end, or to end another drive. Later, with great pressure and a tackle for loss. And watching this game, I think we were even playing Madden last night when I was watching this. I felt like I was watching Javion Clowney in college form. There was almost a play exactly like the one in the bowl game. If he would have just ended up hitting the running back, got a fumble, and would have picked it up, it would have been the exact same because the play was almost perfect for that.
Yeah.
So that makes me excited because we were talking about it last week that I thought with J.J. Watt producing, this might open up Clowney to start making more moves.
I know a lot of people had asked us, is Clowney worth keeping? These are those games that your studs are actually going to start coming through. We'll talk about it later on about how as we progress throughout the season, you're going to have these guys that are going to start coming together. Ogletree is one, and Collins is another from the Giants.
Yeah. Again, don't necessarily give up hope. It's a long season, and these guys will start figuring out and they'll scheme better.
Another guy, the Rams, Aaron Donald. You covered that game.
Mm-hmm. And I'll get to him. He had a really good game. And then later on in the game, Cunningham had a really nice pass breakup. Colvin then had a pass breakup over the middle. Watt with a sack. Later with a forced fumble. Isaiah Culliver, he gives up a touchdown. Houston has given up yards with the lead as the Colts drive end up sending it to overtime. The Texans are getting pressure in overtime and finally get a stop. And, it's about time they finally just shut them down. Me personally, I'm really worried about McKinney. Again, this is a guy who I have on my roster in my dynasty now. But the Bills give up a lot of linebacker tackles, so there may be hope this year. I bet you there's a lot of leagues where he's probably been dropped by this point because Cunningham is showing up on the stat sheet more. But don't give up on McKinney. I feel like he's going to be another one of those late starters that hopefully builds back to where he was last year. And their next game will be at the Bills, who got shut out this week by the Packers.
All right, I've got the Eagles at the Titans. For the Eagles, we got Corey Graham going 8 for 9. Darby going 8 for 8 with the pass breakup. We've got Hicks going 6 for 7. Hicks is one of those guys often injured. We're really impressed with him coming back in the lineup and being a top 3 guy. Barnett, Ngata, Bennett all get sacks. God, sometimes, I'm just talking to the audience right here, but sometimes these names, you just read through so many of them. Haloti, man, I don't know what it was about that, but that threw me off. Anyways, Maddox ends up getting a pick.
Yeah, Maddox.
The Eagles are struggling to get second effort early on in the game off the line. I thought that the Titans were going to run away with this just because they were mauling the Eagles' defensive line. Mills was in on the first 2 tackles. Otherwise, he was silent throughout the game. Bennett is getting the offensive lineman out of his chest with good press throughout the game, keeping that one arm open so he can get to the outside. I love seeing this, especially from a defensive lineman. Corey Graham was in on a lot of tackles today, and sometimes they just flow your way. That's what I'm going to go ahead and credit all these tackles to. He didn't look amazing on tape, and I'm not going to rush the waiver wire to pick him up. Brandon Graham blew up the running back and caused a fumble. Later on, he bench pressed the running back to the ground whenever he was held up. That was super impressive.
Nice.
You know how the running back's just fighting for extra yards and they haven't blown the whistle yet?
Mm-hmm.
He just bends him over the back of some dude, and I was like, oh, man. Give him your jockstrap, man.
Oh, that's good.
Sidney Jones ended up allowing a touchdown catch. We've talked about him coming back from his injury. I think he's still got to play through some of his rookie season. I put that in air quotes. I treat it as like a redshirt year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he's still technically a rookie because he hasn't been on the field that often. Next week, the Eagles are versus the Vikings, and I'm going to be picking up Darby. I think Darby's going to get a lot of opportunities to hit Thielen, hit Diggs, and just go after these guys. We've seen him play really well the past couple weeks, but not necessarily be the bride. Then we got the Titans. Byard goes 9-11. Butler goes 9 for 10. Gets a sack as well. Brown goes 6 for 10 with the sack. And Ryan goes 4 for 5 with a pass breakup. Landry and Finch both get sacks. No interceptions for the Titans. The defensive line was giving up everything to the offensive line in overtime. Other than that, they looked pretty good. Brown ended up spelling Woodyard. Woodyard ended up getting hurt whenever he left the game with an injury. He made a couple good pressures through the A-gap. Later on, he was in on a big hit. And I'm finally seeing what others are seeing in this kid. It's taken up to this game for me to actually buy in on Brown. So if Brown is available, he's going to be the guy I suggest in the waiver wires. Byard is catch tackling Ertz, and if you haven't seen Byard, he's a toothpick. Zach Ertz is a meat monster, man. He's just
meat monster,
dude. I swear, he's like a mannequin that you just throw meat on, like he's there for P-Day. You know what I mean? You're like,
hashtag meat monster. Let's get that trending on Twitter, people. Hashtag meat monster.
Harold Landry is coming up big on screenplays out of desperation. The Eagles are just trying to get back in this game. Harold Landry didn't play most of the first half. Later on, he spied Wentz and ended up making a tackle that saved a long run. He later gets a strip sack, and Derek Morgan recovers it. Jarrell Casey is playing with a broken bone in his back. I did not know about that.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not either.
So if you have him, somebody's wanting to trade him, get rid of him. These typically don't heal throughout the season. Brian Orakpo ends up getting a forced fumble. Malcolm Butler ends up getting a forced fumble, and he's continuously picked on in this game. and he ends up getting roasted by Jordan Matthews. In the games that I've watched of Butler, he does not look good in coverage. I can kind of see. We kind of saw the Super Bowl, or what the alternate Super Bowl here.
Well, but is it more just the way they're using him, or are they using him the same way he's using New England?
He's playing one side. New England, he would have traveled a little bit.
Okay.
But Wentz is looking directly at him and throwing at him. You know what I mean? So Wentz sees the mismatch of his guys. All these dudes are huge, man.
Yeah.
Butler's decent size, but don't forget, wasn't Butler non-drafted?
Yeah, I think he's
ended up being a
undrafted.
walk.
I believe he's an undrafted.
So, I mean, I don't really want to step away from this whole podcast, but
no, it's fun.
you have a lot of these undersized guys that end up going undrafted, whether that be talent, whether that be size, and then they end up going to a team like the New England Patriots where you have to buy in. And once you buy in, everything seems to start clicking. It's like magic. And once you leave New England, or once you leave and go to New England, things start working. I don't know what it is. It's just the way they scheme their guys to cover the offensive players. Bill Belichick is a mastermind, man. But Malcolm Butler is playing poorly right now. It leads to more tackles. He ended up going 9 for 10. He got a sack. In real life, he's sucking. I don't expect them to really slide anybody else in because Adoree Jackson's playing like crap too. So I would go ahead and pick up Butler for fantasy because he's going to be trailing enough to give you points for tackles.
On Adoree Jackson, I think I mentioned it during the offseason that he had that special teams value last year, and that's what really made him pop. Do you think this is what he's regressing to what we saw a lot at USC, where he was just getting roasted on? Because there's a lot of games at USC where he just got abused.
Yeah. I think he got abused more in his senior year than in his junior year because I was really high on him his junior year. Mm-hmm. His senior year, I kind of backed off a little bit on him. But we saw the same stuff from Juju Smith-Schuster. Both guys who struggled in their senior year, they hit the NFL and they do fairly well their freshman or rookie year.
Yeah.
So I think Adoree Jackson is one of those guys that has all the tangibles and the intangibles. He just needs to put them both together.
He's got the tools. He just needs to use them.
Right. Whereas Butler is a little undersized, and he has to play smarter to make up for that lack of size.
Okay.
But whenever you have Kevin Byard, you can kind of get away with stuff like that.
Very true.
Next week, the Titans are at the Bills. Again, I'm picking up Brown. I don't think a lot needs to be said. There's no status on Woodyard's injury, how long he's going to be out.
All right, sounds good. My next game is the Lions at the Cowboys. Again, the Cowboys are wearing these white jerseys and the Lions are wearing the gray. Why are you doing this to me? Like, it's sometimes really hard to just, get into a color scheme, but it's too much blended in for me. Didn't like it. But I think the gray jerseys look nice. Reminds me of Oklahoma State's. For the Cowboys, the home team in this one, Lawrence goes 8 total, 6 solo, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Awuzie goes 8 tackles, 5 solo, 1 pass defense. And Smith goes 7 tackles, 5 solo. Early on in the game, Crawford busted the line for a tackle for loss. Early on, Heath was looking good with a tackle for loss, but again, later on he got roasted in coverage. Awuzie is getting worked by Galladay, and Galladay is honestly just making amazing catches, man. There were some plays that I couldn't even blame Awuzie because the coverage was perfect. Like, damn near crystal clear, and he's still getting the ball and making just great catches. I like watching this kid a lot. Lawrence with the first sack in the second quarter. The next play, Vander Esch gets into the backfield, causes a little bit of havoc. There's a coverage sack later on for Lawrence. Just Matt Stafford held on to the ball too long. We see this all the time. Awuzie gets great coverage, but then still gives up an amazing catch. It was the same all game. Dallas is getting beat in the flats and can't bring down Kerryon Johnson, and even the play fakes are really getting to them too. I love how Vander keeps his head in plays, and I mentioned it last week, and I'll say it again. He is always looking up to read the play, and I think that's a good quality that I haven't seen from some linebackers.
You mean looking down to see the play?
Yeah, pretty much looking down to see the play. Correct. Anthony Brown watches at the backfield as Tate gets open for a touchdown. That was just straight watching Matt Stafford too long and not realizing that your guy's about to run behind you. Just just can't give up those touchdowns like that. That was the difference in the game right there. Dallas was getting beat just by simple handoff maneuvers. I mean, Kerryon Johnson had a hell of a game. I was super happy I started him this week in the auction league.
By handoff maneuvers.
Yeah. Just doing either a play fake and then handing it the other way or doing a toss. They were doing a lot of stuff to get the Cowboys moving the wrong way. Yeah. And they were selling it. That's what I liked. Next week for my pickup, I really look at Awuzie. He may be giving up yards, but, I mean, he's being thrown at. Matt Stafford seemed to have a plan to go after him, and usually quarterbacks in film rooms, they take advantage of that and they take note. Their next game is going to be at Houston, so a little bit of the in-Texas rivalry game. So that's going to be kind of fun to watch. For the Lions, you had Davis going 11 total, 9 solo, 1 forced fumble. Robinson, 9 total, 6 solo. And Quinn, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 pass defense. The Lions are closing in early on Zeke in the first drive. This, again, is the best they're going to cover him because eventually he just starts getting all sorts of yards. Slay with a pass break up in the end zone. We see this a lot from him. Big play Slay, that's what they call him. Lawson gets a near pick, just goes off his fingertips. I really thought he was going to snag that one. That would have been a tide changer because at the time in the game, that would have really pushed them down in the red zone, and that would have been a big ball move for him.
Was that Alabama throwback? Big tide?
Yeah. All right, Zeke is trying. No, I got you. I was like, that's a good catch. Zeke was starting to get loose in the second half. And into the second quarter, he seemed to start finding his rhythm, finding the holes in the defense. Davis was really moving really well in the first half. I didn't see it a lot from the last game I watched. He didn't seem to be putting himself in position, but this game he definitely did. He also had a really nice tackle out in the flats. So it's kind of like you throw a little audible, throw him out in the flats, and he went out there and made the tackle. I like one-on-ones with linebackers on the outside with a running back. You get a coverage sack later on by Kennard in his 4th sack of the year. He's leading the team in sacks right now. Ball pops out on the goal line on a 4th down play, 4th and 1. Dallas ends up getting the first down, so they call it down. Originally, one of the wide receivers picked it up for a touchdown, but they ruled it down, no forward progress on a 4th down play. Big blocks open up holes for Zeke to run through, and they just kept doing it. They kept moving the Lions' defensive line any way they wanted. Doesn't show good signs for me because the week before when they played the Patriots, they were able to move around and kind of get in between the Patriots' offensive line. Play fakes basically got Swain open for a touchdown in the back of the end zone. They just kind of forgot about him back there in coverage. Really, the soft coverage, what was getting the Lions beat later in this game. They were just not really going out and attacking like I was hoping they were going to really close out that game. Denard gets a forced fumble, but Prescott recovers the ball. He just went around the corner, wrapped, and smacked the ball out of his hand. Davis gets beat by Zeke on the outside. It was a great catch on top of it. Dak did put it right where it needed to be, and it just floated over, and Ezekiel just made a Willie Mays-type catch just right over the shoulder.
In the bucket,
just drained it. He basically threw it in the kettle. We called it kettle catch. Yeah, hashtag kettle catch.
What did I hear them call it the other day? Keep going. I'm going to come back to it.
All right. For me, on the Lions, Denard is really sack-dependent to make you fantasy numbers, but Green Bay does give up some sacks, so he may be a streamer for next week. He's, again, not going to get you a big total tackle because I think the rest of the big tacklers should probably be taken. Again, Quinn's an okay ad because he seems to always be around for tackles, but I like Denard as a streamer if you want to take a risk.
I'm pretty sure the color analyst for the radio station called it a nut-cutting catch.
Wow.
What does that mean?
I have no idea.
I don't even want to speculate.
Someone may need to check Davis out. He may be eunuch now. We don't know. I like kettle catch, so hashtag kettle catch. Get it trending. All right, again, the Lions' next game is going to be home against the Packers. Let's hope for a Hail Mary, but let's hope that our offense actually scores, so we don't have to worry about this. All right, you're up, my dude.
My dude. All right, I have the Bills versus the Packers. For the Bills, Lewis goes 7 for 8 with 2 pass breakups. Edmonds goes 5 for 6 with a pass breakup. Poyer goes 4 for 6 with a pass breakup and an interception. I know a lot of people had asked if he is worth dropping. Again, he finished number 2 in the defensive backs last season with our scoring system. Go pick him up if he is available. Hughes goes 5 for 5. A guy that we saw miss out on a lot of tackles last week is showing up. And Johnson ends up getting a sack. Jerry Hughes never gives up on a play, and I absolutely love this about this dude. I believe he's 33 years old. and you can never get upset about that. Edmonds is flowing sideline to sideline. Love seeing that. Ends with 5 and 6 in a pass breakup. I expect his numbers to be a lot higher whenever he's playing the Tennessee Titans next week because they will run. Lewis is in on 2 forced fumbles, beat on a double team or a double move over the middle for a touchdown. He's attacked constantly, and he ends up dropping a pick. He gave up 128 yards this game. It's almost like the Packers are playing a solo on arcade and Madden. If you've ever done that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's this really easy setting that you play in Madden, and it's almost like whose line is it anyway? You know, how's it go? Something, and the points don't matter.
Oh yeah, where the game's made up and the points don't matter.
Exactly.
I love the references today. They're just really flowing over here. I really love it.
Yeah, but it'd be even better if I finished on them. You know,
you got to leave suspense for the audience.
Right. Those pregnant pauses. Matt Milano almost gets a sack. He doesn't get home. He only gets 3.5 points in one of our leagues, and I think you actually get a point or a half point for a hit. The Hyde injury gets Raphael Bush into the lineup at the end of the first quarter. Again, did I mention him in the top? No, I did not. Humber is in on a lot of snaps this week. Again, did I mention? No, I didn't. Poyer ends up getting a pick off a deflection, and Saron Neal ends up getting a sack. White dropped a deep pick that he could have easily got. He just fell back on his butt and didn't catch it. And Teron Johnson ends up destroying Rodgers on an unabated sack to the quarterback. Clay immediately disagrees on the sideline.
Immediately. Yeah, that was funny. That was a funny play.
Next week they play against the Titans, like I said. Go pick up Poyer if he's available.
So safe to say the pickup of Terrion Johnson worked out well?
I didn't look at the numbers. I don't think he finished at the top. No, he didn't. He ended up getting a sack, and that was it. Martinez ends up going 6 for 9 with a sack. Jackson goes 4 for 5 with 2 pass breakups. Matthews goes 3 for 5 with half sack. And Fackrell goes 4 for 4 with 3 sacks. I don't even know who Fackrell is.
He's one of our linebackers.
Did he come from the Cleveland Browns?
I don't know where he came from, though, to be honest with you.
That is absolutely insane. 4 of those tackles are sacks. Or 3 of those tackles are sacks.
Wow. Fackrell's used like that. He's like a niche player.
Yeah. In some leagues, I see where tackles and sacks are the same. Some leagues don't. Those that do reward, props to your commissioner. Gilbert and Whitehead end up getting a sack each, and Perry ends up getting a half sack. HaHa and Jair both had interceptions. Kentrell Bryce is in on a big third down to set the tone. Jair had a great pass breakup in the slot. Martinez took off his helmet after a skirmish for the ball. One of the dumbest things that you should do, especially if you get in a fight on the field. Martinez and Gilbert both chase down Allen, and he just chucks it up late to Jair for a pick. Whitehead got a sack, and Clark got a forced fumble and a recovery. Next week, the Packers are at the Lions. Paul, because you're our NFC North expert, who are you picking up for the Packers? Expert. Who are you picking up for the Packers on the waiver wire?
Well, with the Lions' new run game that all of a sudden showed up, we've talked about Kenny Clark last week. I think Mike Daniels, this is his time to shine. But you're not going to talk about how awesome that interception was from HaHa, how he laid out KB. Just freaking laid him out while making a pick. That was one of the nastiest interceptions I've seen, especially from HaHa. But that was one of those, that was awesome. I love that play. Oh, come on. He didn't even give Jair that much love for his pick.
Yeah, but dude, that was a floating duck.
If it was against the Patriots, you would have been like, all right, that was awesome.
Oh, the greatest quarterback ever.
But no, honestly, this was a good shutout win. But honestly, I would be looking at Mike Daniels. I feel like it's his time to finally get open and start doing something. So he's been kind of a non-factor fantasy-wise so far. But he always ends up having 3 or 4 big games a year. But if not, I think Josh Jackson's a pick-happy person this week. I really think he gets a pick. I'm just seeing it.
Word. Who you got next?
All right, my next of kin that is up is going to be the Bengals at the Falcons. Basically like watching the Saints and Falcons play each other. The Falcons, the home team, wearing the black throwback jerseys, which I love. I love those jerseys.
Everybody does.
I know, they're so nice. Kamikaze goes 7 for 7, 1 pass defense, 1 interception. Trufant goes 7 for 6, 2 pass defenses. And Campbell goes 5 for 5. And Tack, doing it for his grandma, goes 3 total, 3 solo, 3 sack, 3 tackle for loss. Basically, his lucky number is 3. Early on in this game, Tack is showing a motor, and he is chasing the running backs out to the boundary. Love seeing that from a defensive tackle. That's so much fun to watch, man. The Falcons' D ends are closing on the edge and getting near the red rifle early on. Sanant stops the running back dump off. Again, these big dudes, I don't know what motivated them this week, but they were on their motors. Like, everything was turned on full cylinder. They were going after every play. The D-line is honestly looking really hungry out there. Jarrett gets a stop. Even after Eifert breaks a bone in his leg or in his ankle, then Tack gets a sack. It's crazy. Like, it was just like watching play after play after play where they're getting back to the quarterback. Tandy with a blocked punt later on in the game. Vic Beasley actually gets a blocked pass. It was just one of those he ran, jumped up, knocked it down. It was pretty cool play. Tack is beasting, man, and he's doing it for his grandma. I even wrote that in my notes.
What if you did like a fake, like he's holding a picture frame? You know, that would be amazing.
I think that'd be cool, because that's what I told you. I was like, after that sack late in the fourth, he like pulls out a picture of his grandma. My grandma. That'd be awesome. Because I loved it. I love that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we're talking about when he got drafted, and he was talking about how he does it for his grandma, and he got super emotional, and it was awesome.
Do you think it'd be distasteful to tell him that on Twitter?
No, man.
You don't think so?
No.
Let's get a poll.
I think that's a good thing. Like, I'd love it. Because, I mean, if I could do it, I'd rep my grandma, too. Like, if I was out in the NFL, that's awesome. Like, he has a great story. If you don't know, just go look it up. Tack is coming in, and he makes a great sack off the edge to stop a Bengals drive. We were both watching the game at the same time, and we loved his celebration. We love seeing him dance, man. We like seeing these guys celebrate after making a play. Again, I love seeing what I'm seeing from the line. They're getting first contact, and it really helps out the struggling defensive backfield right now, and really the struggling linebacking core as well. Beasley almost got a forced fumble, but luckily the arm was moving forward for the red rifle, and he got away with it. Oliver breaks up a pass attempt at the end zone near the end of the game when the Bengals had to score to win. And then Green gets behind cover 2 and gets a sliding touchdown. Oliver shouldn't have gone down into the flats. He should have probably gone back and played up on Green. But this is Isaiah Oliver, a kid from Colorado, a kid who was low on our list, on our premium podcast, but he ended up turning out pretty well. I think he played well in relief, even though he sort of helped give up the touchdown, but I think he's going to go up and down. He may be a target for next week. I really want to go attack McKinley as my waiver pickup, but again, he's probably going to be sack dependent, and I don't know if the Steelers are going to give him that much. But I really think Duke Riley could have a good game. He was really there, but not necessarily getting the stats. And I feel like next week, if the Steelers come out, I think he could get back in the backfield if they blitz him just right. And their next game is at the Steelers. For the Bengals, Vigil went 8 for 8, 1 tackle for loss. Bates, the rookie, goes 8 for 7. And then Preston Brown, goes 6 total, 4 solo. Geno starts the game with a tackle for loss. Throughout the first quarter, and honestly the first half, the Bengals are just not wrapping up. Nickerson gets blocked into a touchdown by Ito. Williams gets a near pick on the next play, and then Geno gets a sack. Geno with another tackle. I feel like I was looking at Geno Smith all game. Even though the announcers for the game I watched would never mention the defensive player, I thought that was really weird. Jackson gets beat inside and gives up a touchdown to Ridley. With a short field after a blocked punt, Dunlap gets a sack on third down to hold the Falcons to a field goal. Really great stop for the defense, who was playing a little bit shorthanded. Again, just being out there on the field for that long drive. Lawson called for roughing the passer, and for me on this play in particular, there were 4 guys closing in, and he kind of just fell, but he tried to roll at the end, so I don't know necessarily if it was him trying to fall with all his weight. I felt like he tried to prevent it. It was just one of those, everyone was in there and it was a cluster. So what else are you going to do? Vigil reads the run and attacks for a tackle for loss. Then him and Kirk miss on a tackle like 2 plays later. The Bengals linebackers, I feel like, were just not in position in some of the instances. I don't know if that was a communication or just the defensive gaps. Lawson comes up with a late sack later on in the game that really kind of helped get the Bengals back in pursuit. And then Brown was looking good this week, but my waiver for next week is going to be Brissett. He's coming off that suspension, so he's going to probably come in and have a big game because, again, they're going to be at home versus the Dolphins. And like I said earlier, play your guys. I feel like Geno Atkins and Lawson are still going to go off, but I think Vontaze is going to come in and probably wreak some havoc.
Agreed. He is actually our cover dude for the Week 5 ranks.
Oh, really? Nice.
I don't know. I just felt like he was unanimously the dude that we were going to go with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I have the Buccaneers at the Bears. For the Buccaneers, we have JPP going 6 for 7. That extra one tackle would have happened if he had another digit on his thumb. He ends up getting a sack. David goes 6 for 6. Johnson goes 5 for 5. Grimes goes 4 for 4. And there were no picks by the Buccaneers.
Boo.
No surprise here. Secondary looked like trash. The Buccaneers are getting thrashed. Not just trash, but thrashed. That's with an R.
Yeah, thrashed.
On the left side of the field. I also heard a narrative this week from a Bears fan. I guess he doesn't like throwing towards the defense's right-hand side. This goes back to North Carolina in high school as well. Next time you're watching the Bears, see if Mitchell Trubisky throws to the left side of the field.
He doesn't like throwing to the left?
Does not like throwing to the left. I feel like you would scheme. The only thing that they like doing is throwing floods. That's where the right guy goes all the way down and then the left go on slants. Everything pretty much comes to the right. There was one touchdown pass, and the only touchdown pass that he threw to the left side was to Allen Robinson, and he just threw a beautiful ball. Yeah.
That's something to know. Hopefully NFL coaches pick up on that stuff too.
Right. We also saw that whenever he had that wide open pass, like nobody was around for 7 yards.
Yep.
So that's something to watch for, especially if you are a Bears fan or if you hate the Bears, like Paul and his Packers.
I don't hate the Bears. I just think they're overrated all the time. Every time they get good, they think they're going to the damn Super Bowl. Calm your stuff.
But they keep stretching the defense and then throwing shot plays to the right, of course. Defensive tackles are struggling to get penetration against what I think is the league's best interior lineman from guard to guard. JPP is getting a ton of penetration. MJ Stewart is a cornerback. He was the first cornerback selected in the second round over Carlton Davis. He's terrible in coverage. He needs to be replaced. He was burnt multiple times by Gabriel.
Yes, I love to hear that.
He was caught looking for a pass and then gives up the end around. He does not respect the flats and then gets burned later on. After giving up 3 touchdowns, he finally bats the ball away. I think this was his best play, and he didn't get above 4 tackles. A lot of people were clamoring for Hargraves to get out of the lineup. Now that Hargraves is out of the lineup, MJ Stewart isn't doing anything.
And this is something that I remember specifically mentioning about him in our premium podcast when we covered the cornerbacks, that at North Carolina he wasn't asked to do that much.
Yep.
And a lot of the holes that we saw there are now clearly being shown on the NFL side.
I don't think he's worth picking up in Dynasty at all.
No. I like Carlton Davis a lot better, and I feel like they should draft him first anyway out of the two, because I think Carlton Davis has a lot longer NFL time I think he'll have.
Yep. We have Isaiah Johnson, a safety. He needs to come down in coverage. That's all I really have on him. Again, he doesn't really hit the blotter no more than 4 plays. I'm really curious on how many plays were actually ran, because you have 7, 6, 5, and 4. That's roughly 20. So the other probably 20 were probably dispersed out. The Bears were scoring really well. Buccaneers were on the field most of the game. They had an efficient offense, too, if we were not scoring. William Golston and Quan Alexander correctly diagnosed the screen. I was really surprised Quan didn't have a better game. I thought he was flashing throughout the game. But this is one of those Levante David or Quan Alexander games. Sometimes you get both, sometimes you get none.
Yep.
Next week, the Buccaneers are on a bye. People in very small leagues may drop Levante David. That's a start one. Pick him up, ride him to a fantasy playoff. You have the Chicago Bears. You got Tolliver going 5 for 7. Callahan going 4 for 4. Fuller going 4 for 4. Mack going 3 for 4. He ends up getting a sack, a pass breakup, and more to come as I read the notes. Nichols and Robertson Harris have a shared sack. Lynch ends up getting a sack, and so did Hicks. Danny Trevathan, Lynch, and Jackson all got interceptions. Khalil Mack is playing the best football of his life. Hands down.
I hear the pain in your voice every time you talk about it.
He gets a strip sack. He forces a pick after hitting Winston's arm. Mack almost got another sack later on. Eddie Jackson broke on the ball and stole it from Mike Evans. I absolutely love this guy. Last season, we saw him play up and down. D-backs wise, I would consider him like Yannick Ngakoue. He's one of those guys that's going to be boom or bust week to week. But I do want to play him as we're going forward. 2 picks back-to-back weeks, by the way. Jonathan Bullard, defensive end, drives the center all the way back into the running back for a huge tackle for loss. Not really making a lot of plays, but that play was significant. I do want to mention it because if we see a trend, he's one of those guys you want to jump on. Aaron Lynch, one of those guys coming from San Francisco, played really well and is in on a lot of plays and snaps. I thought he looked great. He ended up getting an interception. Aaron Lynch may be a better football player than a fantasy football player. It's just one of those things where he's flashing on tape, but he's not necessarily registering a lot of tackles. Like the Connor Barwins of the world or the Longs. Bilal Nichols, defensive tackle, a rookie this season, shoots through the A-gap and tackles the running back. He honestly could have tackled Winston, too, if he wanted to. They were all like right there.
Nice.
He could have just wrapped his arm around him.
Bear hugged them both.
Right. In a cornerback start one league, I'm going to be picking up Prince Amukamara. He looks great in run support this year, which is going to lead to a lot of tackles down the road. They've got a bye this week, and he's one of those guys you should put on your watch list. You're up, Paul.
All right, I am ready.
Do you have any notable injuries or anything you want to bring up?
I'm going through some of them right now while we're speaking. Let me go back one page. I'm sorry. But I think, again, you're going to cover it when you cover Seattle's game, so I'll leave that one up there.
What about Wesley Woodyard? I see that.
Yeah, Wesley Woodyard says he could miss some time, is what it's appearing.
Okay,
Again,
pick up
sometimes
Brown.
in quotes, with the shoulder.
What about Evans? Is Evans worth picking up? He didn't really flash. He was on the field.
I think they're going to probably go to him, though. Being that high of a draft pick, I feel like he's going to play.
Right.
Sam Acho is going to be out for the season with a torn pectoral for the Bears.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. Texans cornerback Aaron Colvin will be sidelined indefinitely with a severe ankle injury. I wish I had known that. I'd have probably changed my waivers up just a little bit, but not that much. He didn't really play that well anyway. Bobby McCain got another knee injury, so he's going to be sidelined a couple weeks. Micah Hyde did get a groin injury in the Packers game. Jarrell Worthy got dropped by the Bucks. He's now a free agent. Hey, and Rakeem Nunez Roches is back in the league, baby. He signed with the Bucks.
Woo!
Yeah, I didn't know that until today. I'm kind of excited about that. And it looks like the Chiefs were really close to getting Earl Thomas, just so everyone knows. But I'll save the other injuries.
Sure, I'll sign now.
Yeah, they'll have to get a discount. All right. I'll save some of mine for my games because I'm just glad I got those right now. So, worked out perfect because my next game is the game of the week. Browns at Raiders. I'm just kidding. It's not really the game of the week. But this game was a lot more fun to watch, even though I had to watch an hour of it on condensed form than I thought it was going to be. But again, I love that the A's made the playoffs in baseball, but I hate that the Raiders are going to have to keep playing on that field until they lose. It's very frustrating. I hate watching the dirt kicks, man. I feel like I don't want to start any kicker ever when they're playing in Oakland. For the Raiders, the home team, they had Whitehead with 12 total, 7 solo. Lee with 10 total, 3 solo, 2 pass defense. And Melvin goes 9 for 9, 2 pass defense. And Hurst, the rookie, the guy with the big heart from Michigan, he goes 4 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 pass defense, and a forced fumble. So, again, this is a big game for him. I was super excited to watch him. I actually watched his plays multiple times because I'm just seeing what I saw in college, and I love that. Early on, very first play of the game, Melvin makes a textbook one-on-one tackle. Later on, Conley gets a deflection pick 6, again on the Browns' first drive. Lamar later on gets a sack. Lee makes first contacts to stall the drive and force a field goal. Chubb rips a missed tackle by Whitehead off for a touchdown. Nelson falls in coverage, and the Browns end up scoring a touchdown. Gang tackling by the Raiders. This is probably the most I've seen so far. Just everyone doing their job. Later on, Hurst gets that strip sack that I talked about earlier. Chubb flat out runs the Raiders defense as he cuts up the middle, cuts a little bit to the right, and he's gone. Like he just showed us what I've seen in college, and that's why I drafted him. Raiders hold Browns to a 3-and-out. Really sketchy 3-and-out because they marked him down short of the line of gain when it kind of looked like he was over the line of gain. It was one of those, it feels like whenever it's a Raiders game, they have to pull out the note card to measure.
Right. Savage.
Nelson's interception sends us to overtime. Again, another overtime game this week. I was really hoping the Browns would tie this game. I wanted this to be a tie so bad so they could have 2 ties. I just thought that'd be awesome.
That's 2 for us.
That's 2 for me. Yeah. A good hit by Clemente, and I really love it. They first flagged the play, but he hit him like right in the chest. There's nothing you could do about it. Melvin with a clutch pass breakup later in the game stops the Browns' drive. The Raiders get the ball back, and they win. The first home game, the first win for your Raiders in Gruden.
Not my
The
Raiders.
Gruden era has shown up. So excited. This guy is pumped. He's just like over here fist pumping right now. He's flexing. He's so excited about his Raiders.
Not my Raiders.
They're his Raiders. He said it multiple times. I have it on tape last week, so we all heard it. My waiver pickup, I simply put Melvin. Pick him up. This guy's making tackles. He's getting thrown at, and he's making those tackles. Pick him up because his next game is going to be at the Chargers, and that is a perfect game for him. He'll be used a lot as a weapon. I like Melvin a lot. He's one of the Raiders that I really started watching more.
Rashawn Melvin.
I really like this kid, man.
Really, I like the guy that got the pick 6.
Conley? Yeah, and I'm not saying Conley's bad or anything. I just think Melvin's that tackle guy for them.
Okay.
You know, he's that Mike Hughes role, for me. For the Browns, Schobert went 14 total, 7 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Carey went 12 total, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Garrett went 9 total, 7 solo, half sack, 1 tackle for loss. Schobert really is getting in the hole early and then gets a sack later on in the first drive. Terrence Mitchell fractures his forearm on a tackle. It was nasty. Because as soon as he gets up, you hear the announcer go, "Oh God!" You love it when an announcer says that. That's good things right there. Later on, Gaines gets a pick to go into halftime, tied up. Bad throw by Carr gets Randall a pick. Garrett is starting to come alive in the second half. He really started taking over plays. This is something that we were hoping to see from him, and he's been showing it early on in the season. He continued in this game for sure.
How much of that do you think is the nature of playing defensive line, wearing down the offensive line?
I think that's a lot of it, especially with the Raiders line, because they have some of them older guys where they can wear them down. But, I mean, I didn't think he was struggling in the first half by any stretch. I just felt like they were getting close, and then eventually they maybe picked up a few moves in their head to use. And I feel like that worked out better for them. The Browns are getting pressure again, and they're starting to feel it. I feel like the defensive line as a whole is just feeling themselves. Randall blows up a wide receiver handoff for a tackle for loss. Carr threads the needle for a touchdown over Randall. Lynch breaks tackle after tackle. He's like a freaking pinball, man. He just plays bumper carts out there. He's like, boink, boink, boink. Like, I want him to put like a cool sound effect every time he breaks a tackle. I think that would really bring an extra echelons to the game for me.
Honestly, I think he's got Bose headphones underneath that helmet. The way he dances.
I think so. There's a good possibility. I don't know, man. I've watched some of his like prank videos, and they're hilarious, man. Like, that dude is a funny guy. Like, I'd really like to hang out with him sometime, eat some Skittles. That'd be fun. Garrett later on gets a forced fumble, but a quick-ass whistle takes it away. I thought that whistle was bullcrap. There was a couple of them. There was one on the Raiders side where Lynch clearly didn't go down after a tackle, and they whistled the ball dead. Like, Lynch was gone after that. And I was pissed about that. There were 3 quick whistles in this game, so I don't know what the hell they were doing out there. But they were not officiating properly. This officiating crew on this game in particular sucked really bad. Later on, Garrett, again, showing up, and he's making plays late in the game, really trying to close it out. Missed tackle by Calhoun keeps the drive going, and the Raiders score to tie the game. In overtime, Collins gets a sack. Garrett keeps getting stops at the line. Lynch can't be stopped by anyone. He's nasty. My waivers, with Mitchell out with a broken arm, I really think E.J. Gaines is going to start getting more work. So he may be an easy streamer because next week they will be playing versus the Ravens.
That's all you got?
Yep.
All right, I got the Seahawks and the Cardinals. A game I always hate watching because it's usually like 9-6.
Yeah, I got the Colts in Houston, okay? The overtime games.
Fair enough. We have Bobby Wagner, the guy that y'all have been asking about, leading the team, going 4 for 7 with the pass breakup. Flowers going 6 for 6. Kendricks going 4 for 6. And Reed with the sack. No interceptions for the Seahawks. Wagner almost gets a sack, but he was cut down by David Johnson. He has not missed a beat, honestly. Trey Flowers getting a lot of good play from that cornerback out of Oklahoma State. Ends up getting a strip, and McDougal from Kansas ends up recovering it. So 2 Big 12 guys getting a lot of playing time because they got a lot of playing time in college.
No, the Big 12 doesn't play defense.
Right, that's true. Quentin Jefferson, defensive tackle, blows up a toss play. He almost stops a touchdown run, but DJ falls forward later on. Shaquille Griffin, the brother of Shaquem, gives up contain for a long gain against David Johnson. Of course, that's going to happen. He ends up trying to blitz from the outside. He doesn't realize he's the outside guy, and the outside shoulder, like we always talk about, how valuable it is. He gives it up. And he's got 2 hands, but he still can't cross the face of the offensive lineman. Frank Clark slides into the hip pocket of the pulling guard for a tackle for loss. And why did they put Clark in coverage against DJ later on in the game?
Rasheem Green would do better coverage than Clark would.
Right. I'm surprised we're not talking about him.
I'm waiting.
Only play I've seen from Mingo ever in his career after 6 seasons. He ends up shedding a block in the flats to square up for a tackle for loss. This was a great play. I'm still waiting on him. Just like that one dude from the Arizona Cardinals. Took it. Oh, it was Mingo. Retracing my steps, wondering who I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's Kevin Minter.
Oh.
Linebackers that never show up. Ever.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He went to the Bengals at one time. Just throwing that out there. He was on the roster.
Coleman has flashed in coverage and in run support. He's a good assignment football player. Eventually, he will come out and he will have a great game. I don't think it's going to be the next week against the Rams. Next week against the Rams, I'm picking up Trey Flowers. Expect them to pick on a cornerback, and he will be the guy. For the Seattle Seahawks, they're losing their best cover safety, Earl Thomas. They've got who is their dude? I just had it up. Seahawks depth chart. We've got Tedrick Thompson, Delano Hill, and then as strong safeties, we've got Shalon Luani. I thought he played all right in preseason, and we got Akeem King. I don't expect them to take Luani and move him over. One thing that I have considered. Do you know what I'm thinking?
Shaquem?
No, that would be nasty.
That would be nasty, I'm
Dude,
telling you.
Just over the top with that 4.3 speed. I don't think that's reality, though.
He would be like Atari Bigby.
Yeah?
That's exactly who you remember. You don't remember Atari Bigby?
No,
that dude was a
like,
missile
yeah,
safety.
Put my hands up in the air like, okay, Paul.
Okay. Look up Atari Bigby if you've never looked him up, man.
Right,
That dude was a missile. Trey Boston-esque missile.
But these Seattle Seahawks, they're a little bit more progressive than the rest of the league. I could see them bringing in Eric Reed. We saw them bring in Eric Kendricks. I could easily see them bringing in Eric Reed.
Didn't Eric Reed get signed by Carolina?
Did he?
I thought he did. I thought he got picked up.
We'll fact check that.
Yeah,
later.
fact check that, yeah. I'll look it up for you. I got you.
All right. I'm going to move on to the Arizona Cardinals.
Ooh, fun.
Trey Boston goes 11 for 11 and leads the team.
And he was on my bench. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, my gosh. Paul, we just told everybody to go pick him up on waivers.
I know. I dropped the ball on that one. I accidentally played the wrong player.
You should have watched last week then, man. I watched him 2 weeks in a row, and I'm wanting to give this dude MVP honors.
It's because they're moving the safeties out to corners now.
Just wait. I've got a good comparison for this dude, and a lot of people are going to say, what the hell, man?
I love it.
Buffet goes 6 for 7. Buchanan goes 5 for 6. Bynes goes 5 for 5. Hassan Reddick and Chandler Jones both had a sack.
Nice.
No interceptions. Interesting stat. Before this game, Christian Jones and Robert Kimdiche both had the same amount of points.
And Eric Reed was signed by the Panthers.
Crap. All right. Oh, it's because they got rid of their owner. Deion.
That was a good one.
Deion Buchanan is starting in the lineup for the Arizona Cardinals.
Finally.
Go pick him up where he's available. He will be available because a lot of people have given up on him. I have honestly thought about giving up on him. And I know a lot of other IDP dudes have talked. IDP with me.
I read a lot on Twitter about
a lot
Deion
of people
Buchanan.
hate on Buchanan, and they're talking up Bynes and Gerald Hodges. Bynes and Hodges, I saw pretty much splitting the snaps.
Let's be honest, Hodges sucks compared to Deion.
There's a reason why he's a journeyman. You know, there's a reason why Buchanan hasn't been dropped. You know, over time, these guys will end up rotating back in the lineup. There's a reason why Alec Ogletree hasn't been dropped and why he was paid. But that's for a different day. Buchanan ends up giving up a long run blitzing and gives up the contain, a lot like we saw with, let me find it. Searching, Shaquille Griffin. Deion Buchanan ends up forcing a fumble, but it was ruled out of bounds. That's one stat that we wish we could have had back maybe next week.
I have one of those in the 49ers game, the same type. Should have had a fumble recovery.
Anton Bethea got blocked by Wilson for a touchdown run. Yes, Russell Wilson blocked Anton Bethea. He had an interception, but it was not enough evidence to cause it to be a pick. Trey Boston is playing exceptionally well. He reminds me of Troy Polamalu right now. Dead ass, man. I'm serious. He's showing his instincts, and he's always breaking on the ball. This guy is an absolute missile.
You know what's funny about this whole situation with Trey Boston is last season I traded a third-round pick to get him because I thought it'd be good. And then he ends up being a free agent throughout the offseason. I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I wasted a third-round pick. And then the Cardinals pick him up, which I was actually hoping he went to Houston.
Yeah.
The Cardinals picked him up. I didn't think he was going to get this much playing time.
Did you drop him?
No, hell no.
Okay.
I ain't going to drop him. Like, I like Trey Boston as a personal football player. I was going to keep him until no one had him.
Right.
But I did not expect this early on.
Right. And I did not expect this last season either because I had him 2 seasons ago, into the season whenever he was balling out for Carolina Panthers. At the end of the season, he did well. At the beginning of the season and preseason, he looked like a monster. And then beginning of the season for the Carolina Panthers, he didn't show up. Yeah. He was playing, but he wasn't getting tackles.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things, especially in a dynasty format. You're always looking for young guys like this that you see those flashes. And if they have the talent, you see the flashes, and it's not adding up, wait on those guys, especially if you have the roster spots. Put them in the taxi squad, whatever you got to do, because you do not want that guy going to another guy's roster.
Exactly.
Fortunately for me, I've got safeties where I'm not really wishing I had him. He's playing well. I've got him in a couple of leagues.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish here I am going against what I just said. I kind of wish he was on my squad and Dynasty League. Paul, we may work out a trade later on. Son Reddick. Marcus Golden is in pursuit of Wilson, and Wilson used deception to get away from him, where we've seen this before. Russell Wilson does these crazy acrobatic maneuvers.
He has to. He's running for his damn life.
Dude, he looks like an animal in the wild. He's like shaking his shoulder pads one way, putting his hips the other.
He's like a gazelle. He's like a gazelle trying to get away from all these lines that are attacking him.
And it works. It works. I don't know how he does it.
Just imagine if he had an offensive line that blocked.
Right.
My God.
Yeah. Yeah, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe he goes around too much.
I would be running around too if I had the offensive line they have.
Yeah.
This is basically, they tried to patch it this offseason. They haven't patched it at all. It's still blowing out air.
Yeah. And the Cardinals have a decent pass rush. Bené Ben-Wickery gets a forced fumble. A huge tackle for loss. He timed up the flare pass and made it happen. We've seen good play from him in spurts. We haven't necessarily seen him shut down that other side of Patrick P. He's not necessarily that guy that's going to be picked on because the play. We've actually seen a lot more tackles for Patrick P this season, surprisingly. Hassan Reddick waits on a delayed blitz, and he jumps over the right guard who kind of like does the splits and sticks his leg out trying to trip Hassan Reddick. And he kind of like does this little prance over him, and then it was beautiful. He just takes Wilson right down.
Nice.
It was amazing. Not getting enough snaps to be relevant yet in a redraft, but in a dynasty, we're seeing those flashes. Hopefully it's not too late and in their mid-40s. You got Robert Kimdiche, who's blowing up the center on a toss play. He trips Wilson up, and he makes a tackle on the running back. You didn't get the hot flares? Mm-hmm. Hot flash reference?
No.
For women? No. God, it was there.
Mid-40s. I'm sorry. It's probably there.
All right. Next week, they're at the 49ers. I'm picking up Deion Buchanan, especially with a crappy quarterback. Who is their quarterback? Did they sign anybody?
No, they're going with
Beathard
still.
All right.
Beathard didn't have a bad game
though.
He was getting
or
smashed
he just wanted to get out of the situation?
Who, Garoppolo?
No, Beathard.
No, Beathard just was getting smashed. Mm-hmm. Like, he was getting pounded in the face.
Well, he did get hurt, and they replaced him.
Yeah. But he did come back, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was taking the coward's way out. Like,
he was like, I'm tired of this. I'm out of here.
I have seen athletes do that.
I'm just saying, if I'm the 49ers and I can get Tyrod for cheap, I'd trade for him.
It's not a bad...
It'd help out this offense. Just as a patch. All right, and that leads in perfectly to my game. We had the 49ers at the Chargers. I will tell you, Buck, watching the beginning of this game, you know how they like to pan around the stadium?
Yeah.
There was almost more red than blue. Like, I felt like it was half and half. Felt like I was watching a KU game with all the red and blue everywhere. There was a shitload of 49er fans. I was shocked with how well they traveled for this. Especially with Garoppolo being out, I would have never thought they would have traveled this well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they finally have something to be happy for. You know?
It's just...
in LA, that's just a melting pot, you know. You think about people, and they've been there.
Yeah. It was just nuts, man. Because I heard more boos and cheers when the 49ers made a good play, bad play for the 49ers than I did almost for the Chargers until it was getting close at the end. It's just crazy. For the Chargers, the home team, Brown goes 9 total, 6 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense. T. Williams, cornerback, goes 8 total, 7 solo, 1 pass defense, 1 INT. Derwin James, the rookie, goes 7 total, 5 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense. I was really hoping he's going to get a pick. That would have been a perfect one. I love it when they have like 6 things in the stat box.
Triple crown.
Meebane making a really good play on the first snap. This is a guy that we talked about last week that could make potential plays. Hopefully he keeps rolling with this. Hayward gets beat inside and gives up a touchdown. There's actually 2 Haywards now on this team, and it got really confusing because I thought they were talking about regular Hayward. There's a Hayward and a Hayward Jr.
Wow.
No idea. Like, I was super confused.
Who's your daddy?
I guess apparently.
No, like an Alan Jackson song or something. No, Toby Keith.
Yep, good one. Nice. I was just about to get there, and you're jumping ahead of me. I like it. All right. Derwin gets batted pass at the line. Again, I mentioned this in the Browns game, or in the Dolphins game with Fitzpatrick. The Chargers are utilizing James's skill set. They're sending him on a lot of blitzes, a lot of pressures. It's getting a lot of these quarterbacks week after week either hurrying or they're going to be taking a sack. Again, he's just being a knife, a utility knife, and cutting through a lot of stuff. I love seeing it because this is also what we saw in college a lot from him too. Square has a nice tackle at the line. We have Beathard is just throwing at T. Williams, and he's having success. Like, he's just straight. I feel like they came with a game plan. Hey, let's throw at Williams. He's like the 17th William that's on this team, but start throwing at him because he's the guy who's going to give up those catches or give up yards. And obviously we saw from the stat line with him getting 8 total, 7 solo. Nuwasu is causing pressure and really getting the quarterback to move in the pocket. Again, I like seeing this because this is a guy who is going to continue with his role as a rookie and continue to morph into hopefully a better defensive end and outside linebacker combo. James comes on a blitz, and he gets there once again. I mean, I feel like this kid is starting to look even more and more special. And Madden, come on, drop us a good card. Like, drop us like a 90. Just once. Just drop it. Drop a rookie 90.
Dang, 90?
Just do it. He's been in the stat line consistently.
You know what they're going to do?
Give him some speed, man.
They're going to give him a high gold card.
Well, I mean, he's at 88 now, but I mean, I just want something higher. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right. 2 roughing the passer calls in a row, which surprisingly, I agree with both of them. One was a little bit low on the quarterback, and I think that's what you're talking about with Beathard getting hurt. I mean, he took a beating for 2 plays. The second one was really all the weight got landed on him and it took the wind out of him. And again, this is also the same officiating crew that we saw throw a lot of roughing the passer calls. One against, they had the Green Bay game, and then the game in week 1, which I can't recall right now, but I had looked it up once before. They're the ones who are given almost the most roughing the passer calls. So I just want that to be notated. I'm starting to see a trend with certain officiating crews already this year, which is good. T. Williams with the deflection pick at the 2. He almost takes it all the way back, but then he ends up stepping out at the 12. We thought it was down at the 5, but he almost takes it yard. Late in the fourth quarter, number 43 for the Chargers, he gets a fumble on the kickoff, but there's no clear recovery. It was one of those bang-bang plays, and I thought the Chargers had it originally, but they apparently did not, and the ball went out of bounds. It was one of those stats we wish we could have had back. A late pick by Isaac Rochell. Do you know who Isaac Rochell is? Or Rochelle, sorry. Isaac Rochelle?
Yeah, the ball just fell into his hands.
You know where he's a rookie, right?
Yep.
Where did he play? Notre Dame.
No, that's probably why I don't know.
Yeah.
Those independent schools.
Those independent schools. Yeah.
I didn't know they were even in college football.
They technically are. Hey, they're ranked, man. They beat Stanford. That was a good game this week.
Yeah, that was a good game.
They've had good ones, especially even against Michigan, too.
I just don't like Notre Dame.
See, I like Notre Dame. I don't have a problem with Notre Dame. My cousin's a hardcore Notre Dame fan, so I've probably gotten a little respect for them. I can't wait until we play them in Green Bay. We're going to be playing them at Lambeau Field. So yeah, Wisconsin. The Badgers.
They had a football team?
Shut up. Whatever, bro.
Not gonna lie, I was super nervous in that Penn State.
Oh, I bet you were. I bet you were.
Come on, Haskins.
I kept watching, and I was like, oh, Penn State's going to actually do it. And then I look back, and they're losing. I'm like, damn it. Like, freaking Penn State, Jesus, always letting us down. Later in the fourth quarter, there was a lot of good, basically just a lot of good plays by the Chargers in general. I thought that they were really clicking on defense. Next week for my pickup, James, if you can already get him, go get him. If not, Williams was getting targeted a lot, and if Guru Gruden decides to watch tape, Carr should probably target him, and we know Carr likes to throw up some floaters sometimes. So Williams may have a couple picks next week. You never know. Their next game, again, is going to be against the Raiders. For the 49ers, you had Warner, the rookie, going 10 total, 4 solo. Reuben Foster, 7 for 5, 1 tackle for loss. K. Williams, 6 for 6. Love it. Buckner closes in on Gordon early on. Third down play, Rivers throws a pick 6 to Exum Jr. I see a ton of red in the crowd mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. I just thought that was kind of cool. It felt like they were playing almost a home game.
What did that pick look like? Did he drive through the ball? Was it?
Yeah, he drove on a Rivers pass. And that was actually the first pick 6 he'd thrown since like 2011, something like that. Surprisingly, for how many picks he throws, I'm surprised more haven't been returned.
That dude does not care.
No,
he's a gunslinger.
He's like, screw it. And then he gets the mad face whenever they drop balls. I love it. Reuben Foster was playing so nasty in the beginning of this game. He was getting pressure, pass breakups. I loved seeing it, man. This was like the guy who we saw coming out and we saw in his rookie year. He showed up, man. I don't know if it was just a scheme deal, but he was just there making plays.
He just played like they were his ex-girlfriends.
Exactly. Reuben misses man-to-man coverage, and Gates does get open for a touchdown. That was his first touchdown in a long time. I think that's like touchdown number 100,000 some. He keeps getting closer and closer to more touchdown tight end records. Warner loses a one-on-one, and then Eckler scores on a very good pass from Phillip Rivers. Tart pops the ball out of Gordon's hand, but the ball was touched by a 49ers player who was stepping out of bounds. That should have been a recovery. It was one of those, it was close, but someone should have batted the ball into the other guy because there was 3 of them surrounding that spot.
That was 3 or 4 that I've seen this week like that.
Yeah, just right at the sideline. But it was a great pop out. He just went in, wrapped up, punched the ball up. Again, you can't teach that sometimes. Sometimes that's just instincts. Jimmy Ward gets abused by a catch by Williams, one of the 7 Williams. I think this one was Trevor Williams this time. Sheldon Day with a bull rush sack. Again, this is a guy who used to play at Jacksonville. He's now with the 49ers. You like seeing that as well. He was a guy who also, I think 2 weeks ago when I covered them, I thought he was a guy who really had a good showing even though he didn't show up on the stat sheet. Gordon is just eating tackle after tackle and getting yards, especially more after the catch and even more in the rushing. I mean, he was just doing everything late in this game. Exum showed out today, but going against the Cards, I really actually like Buckner to get to the sack. Or I want him to get a couple sack game and put up some tackles. I think this is a good chance for him playing at home versus the Cardinals, a divisional opponent. The games are usually a little bit more hyped up for that.
Word.
And also an injury note on White, Kaiser White. He's going to probably be week to week after having his knee scoped. Or he was going to be my pickup.
He was going to be your pickup?
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else on that game?
Nope. Good to go.
All right, I've got the Saints and the Giants. For the Saints, I've got Demario Davis going 9 for 12 with 2 sacks. Ken Crowley going 7 for 8 with a pass breakup. B.J. Williams going 5 for 7. And Davison ended up getting a sack. No interceptions. Klein made multiple leg tackles. Obviously not enough to show up on the stat sheet. Ken Crowley is constantly attacked throughout this game. He's proving to be the weakest link for this defense. He comes up the B gap and he leaves the outside edge open. He's trying to get a one-handed pick later on in the end zone against Odell Beckham. The irony here. He ends up dropping it, no surprise. Why would you do that? Just stop the drive and catch the damn ball. He definitely had time to. I don't know. He gets beat one more time. Marcus Davenport ends up making a huge tackle for loss. Alex Anzalone is playing way off in coverage. Real football-wise, he looks like hot trash. P.J. Williams ends up forcing a fumble, and number 23 recovers it. Marshawn Lattimore. One of those things that squeaked by in the notes. Davis is used to blitz the A-gap quite a bit. He's finishing tackles violently, and I absolutely love this. I think he's playing the best football of his life. Later on, he comes through the A-gap on a delayed blitz and makes that sack as well. Next week, they're playing the Washington Redskins. I would pick up P.J. Williams. He's been hot 2 weeks in a row. Again, Crowley may get the attention. He was spelled last week by P.J. Williams. They're finding a way to put him back in the lineup. This is really frustrating. I hope that they can get their defensive backs in order. I like watching the Saints, and I want Drew Brees, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, to go out and to win the NFC Championship this season. Sorry, Paul. I saw that look. But no, dude, I love Brees, man. He's my dude. He's always been my dude. I picked him up in fantasy for the longest time.
Do you think Peyton Manning's going to be at the game next week?
Maybe. He has a lot of respect for Brees.
Yeah.
They both talk. In one league, the season that Peyton Manning set the record and he was on fire, I traded Peyton Manning for Drew Brees and some other wide receiver. But that was just a satisfying move. What ended up happening at the end of the season, Peyton Manning was hurt for the championship. I was playing against Peyton Manning, and I had Drew Brees, and Drew Brees brought it home, baby.
The reason I brought that up is Drew Brees is most likely going to break the record.
Yeah, I believe it's, 201 yards?
I think he only needs 100 and some. So
it's 21 or 201?
Yeah, I think
or 210.
He could probably do it in his sleep.
There's a 2 and a 1 somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe a 0. Maybe it's 0-2-1. I don't know. Anyways, for the Giants, Landon Collins goes 9 for 14 with a pass breakup. If you dropped him, I'm sorry. We did not tell you to drop him. Alec Ogletree goes 5 for 12. If you dropped him, I'm sorry. We did not tell you to drop him. And Ray Armstrong coming in from Oakland, San Francisco, and the New York Football Giants. This dude can jump on a pile. I'm really surprised he didn't go 5 for 12 with all those assists. Hill ends up getting a sack. This is the rookie out of NC State.
Yep, correct.
No interceptions for the New York Football Giants. Alec Ogletree is flying around. He looks completely different this week. This is the first week that I have watched a full game of him. He looks well prepared for this offense. I expect that in weeks to come. Connor Barwin was beat on the option by Drew Brees. Really, this is what the guy has made a career on. stopping the option, rushing the passer. I was really surprised he did not get that. Curtis Riley, a cornerback. Don't know who he is. Playing probably for Janoris Jenkins. Snuffing out the Alvin Kamara run for big games multiple times. Anytime Kamara would make multiple runs, he would be there to stop him. He's always coming downhill to Phil. He was not in our top 3, so I wouldn't worry about him unless you're in a deep dynasty league and you're thinking about him. Collins ends up making a big pass breakup for a touchdown. He looks like he's back in form this week for fantasy. Ray Armstrong almost strips the ball out as the running back's falling to the ground. He does end up stripping it out, but he was ruled down. This dude is so scrappy, and anytime he gets a chance to jump on a pile, he does it. This adds to assisted tackles. You may end up getting a tackle stolen from one of the other guys just because his nature is to jump on a pile. Lorenzo Carter is wrapping up, but he does not drive his legs multiple times in this game. You want to see that. He ends up making a special teams tackle. And you'll take tackles any way you can get them, especially if you start a lot and you're in a big league.
I do want to notate with Riley, he was the second leading tackler last week. I knew I had him. I'd heard his name too.
Yeah. All right. You have them against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina.
Coming off a bye.
We've seen them move a lot more to the inside runs. I'm going to be targeting Alec Ogletree. I think he's worth picking up if he were dropped anywhere in most formats. Again, we expected him to be the leading tackler for the season because he's in the New York Giants on their team, and they get a lot of assists and everything else. I'm going to be picking up Ray Armstrong in deeper leagues. I never thought I'd say that, but we saw him make a couple interceptions in San Francisco last season, and he has raised the level of his game.
All right. I saved the one that we thought was going to be the biggest defensive matchup. That was the Vikings at the Rams. End up being more of a score fest. So we'll get to dive into that one. Let's go with the Rams first. They were the home team. Johnson went 12 total, 6 solo, 2 pass defenses. Littleton, 9 total, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defenses. Wilson went 7 for 7, 2 tackles for loss. And Aaron Donald, the second highest paid defensive end, went 5 total, 3 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Peter comes in screaming at Cousins and barely gets the handoff to Cook for a loss of 3 within the first 2 plays of the game. They were just coming after us in as much pressure as they could early. A near pick by Jackson. The 3 same play basically looks, they get the same look later, and Peters gives up a touchdown off that same exact play setup. Another near sack on a handoff, this time by Donald. On this very first drive, the Rams are sending pressure. The Ramsey line is getting pressure with a 4-man rush. A 4-man rush. This goes back to what I've said. The Vikings' offensive line is not that good. The Vikings, Seahawks, Colts, Texans, and Browns for the most part, all bad offensive lines, guys. And now the Dolphins, who are now hurt. So these are offensive lines you want to start, your big guys against for sure. You have another near sack by Donald. This time, in the first drive, again, Donald's just killing it. Can't do anything about it. Donald and Sue are penetrating the O-line the most out of all these guys. Ibaka misses a big tackle for loss by over-pursuing. There's a ball batted by Littleton to stop the Vikings' next drive. Wide receiver screen gets the Vikings a huge gain. No one had an opportunity to cut in on that play. Shields with good coverage, and then a freak touchdown happens when 2 wideouts run the same route. And basically, Sam Shields played the guy underneath, and the guy in the back actually caught the ball. It was a weird route. It was definitely miscommunication, but it worked out for a touchdown for the Vikings. Ibaka gets a tackle for loss. He's really good at the spin and run. He likes to go up, hit, spin, run around. I like watching this kid. I really do. And he's number 50 for the Rams in case you're actually just watching. Just look for this guy. He's out there trying to make plays every single time. Shields on Thielen is a matchup that I really saw a lot going forward, and it's one that I wanted to watch going forward. Again, I'm getting worse and worse saying his name as I go on this. He gets pressure later in the second half. He keeps getting even closer. So again, he's just showing up throughout my notes constantly. A pick goes through Sam Shields' hands, and Diggs makes the catch. 2 plays later, Thielen breaks the end zone and Shields can't go and get the tackle. Touchdown Vikings. Basically, Aaron Donald had a Paul type of sack in Madden. The next play, there's even more pressure for him. What I mean was he ran out, hit the left tackle, spun around him, went over, got the sack. It was lovely. I love seeing it. And that's because I use in our squad games, I've started to morph into more of an Aaron Donald type of player. I like getting him on the edge and just using my skill moves. So that's why I put that. I thought Buck would like that one.
Yeah.
Shields misses another one-on-one tackle. Sue gets a sack from the DN spot.
Nice.
Just straight comes around the right side and just crashes in.
I would not want him coming at me from the wide 9.
I'd be ducking down and just hoping to God he didn't land on me. God. Yeah,
or stomp on me.
Yeah, or stomp on me, for sure. Donald gets another sack off the left guard. Just basically took him backwards, used the inside leverage. Rookie John Franklin Myers with a game-clinching forced fumble. And he is from Stephen F. Austin.
Definitely did not know that.
Really? Oh, I like Stephen F. Austin made a playoff run in the NCAA a couple years ago in basketball. In case you don't know what their logo looks like, the big purple Texas. There's more fun. I guess I need someone who gets the Texas reference.
Yeah, I
the
guess
big purple
so.
Texas. Sorry. Dang it! See, I'm failing on my references today. Just horrible. I like what I see from Ibakun or Ebakun. Am I saying it right, man? I keep
Ibakun.
God, I'm saying
and
it worse
everybody
and worse.
says it different. I just go with what his mommy says.
With Seattle's offensive line, I think this could be a great matchup for him, and he could really get a tack on a couple sacks because their next game is in Seattle. For the Vikings, you had Hughes go 8 total, 7 solo, 1 forced fumble. Kendricks, a linebacker shows up. A linebacker finally shows up for the Vikings in the stat sheet. Goes 7 total, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Sheldon Richardson goes 6 tackle, 4 solo, 2 tackles for loss. And Hunter shows up with 6 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. He was a guy who I mentioned last week to keep an eye on moving forward with Everson Griffin being, I don't know where, just Everson Griffin somewhere. Not much pressure by the Vikings on the first drive. Basically the polar opposite of what the Rams did on their first drive defensively. Barr gets beat by Gurley for a touchdown. And you're going to hear me say Barr gets beat a lot in this podcast, or in this certain podcast for sure.
Is that your stick? You
yeah,
just
pretty
want
much.
to keep going after Barr?
Barr gets beat in coverage. Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Damn right. 2-play drive for the Rams with a deep pass over Barr. It was a mismatch. Like, there was just no way he was going to keep up. Basically, Coop comes out on almost a sweep route and just flies it. And Barr's like, no, come back. That's basically what happened. Waynes gets smoked on the inside the next play, and Kupp gets the touchdown. Hughes is also in coverage on the same play, and he couldn't make a play either. Hughes gets beat deep by Cooks on a double hitch. Sheldon comes out with pressure early on out of halftime. I felt like he just kind of woke up right after the half was over. Then there's a tackle for loss by Kendricks. The next play, there's a sack by Hunter. So they came out and they had a plan and they attacked. Holton Hill, rookie from Texas, a guy who I really liked. I hate that he went to the Vikings, but he actually gets in the game and gets a tackle for loss. This dude, for me, has the perfect, what I consider an ideal cornerback body. He's tall. He's not skinny by any means. He can use it and man up on some of these bigger wide receivers. And I feel like the Vikings may have someone moving forward. I wish he would have just gone anywhere else.
Yeah, so when they play the Cincinnati Bengals once every 4 years. Odd stat, the Cincinnati Bengals are the second highest pass offense, or like offense in general.
Like this year?
This year.
Well, after today's game, I'm not doubting it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. The NFL is crazy sometimes. Sendejo gets a hit stick tackle. Barr gets beat again by Roberts. Barr is trash in coverage. The Rams are picking holes in the defense at this point late in the game. Mike Hughes with a highlight tackle on Cooks, who then fumbles the ball. So Mike Hughes makes up for giving up the touchdown earlier in the game. With the Vikings going to the Eagles with this playoff rematch, Mike Hughes is still my pickup, but really watch Danielle Hunter down the road. If Griffin doesn't come back to this team, he's got to be the factor. Like, if Griffin comes back, his productivity is probably not going to be fantasy relevant. But if Griffin stays out, Hunter could start really cooking.
Hunter or Weatherly. Another dude that's going under the radar right now is Robinson. Robinson, not Robinson.
Robinson.
Yeah, it's hard to pronounce sometimes.
It really is.
You naturally want to say Robinson.
All right, but their next game is at the Eagles.
Word. I think the defensive line is going to struggle. Maybe the D-backs and the linebackers.
Yeah.
Just might do sense.
That's why I went with Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is still my pickup.
Sendejo. I absolutely love the dude. Ravens at the Steelers. You've got the Ravens. C.J. Mosley goes 6 for 8 with a pass breakup. Tony Jefferson goes 5 for 6. Adam Levine. I think he's a singer, right? For Maroon 5? No, I'm kidding. He goes 4 for 5 with 3 pass breakups and an interception. Humphrey goes 4 for 4. Tim Williams gets a sack. And Jefferson got a strip on Vance McDonald.
Can we talk about Tim Williams' sack celebration?
Yeah, sure.
Was it not awesome?
Yeah, it was okay.
You guys down on the ground does an army crawl. I loved that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Watching out for snipers, man.
Keep your head low.
Always watch out for snipers. Kevin Young is getting ran through multiple times. Next play, he ends up hurrying Ben Roethlisberger and then gets ran through again later on. Onwuser flowed well to the screen. He hit Schuster hard. Brandon Williams got a bat down. Really doesn't mean much. I just like seeing big men get plays. So I had to give him some props. Shout out Brandon Williams. Whoop, whoop. Eric Weddle hang cleans James Conner as he's coming through the hole. I absolutely loved it. He's picked up both legs and just threw him down. Especially James Conner. Don't get too cocky, man. If Le'Veon Bell comes back, you're losing that job.
Did you not read the news today? He's gonna come back after the bye week.
What? Week 7, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a dumb move. He better get paid. Brandon Carr got a pass breakup. Another great play in coverage. Carr gets ran through later on. Not really taking much away from Carr because we've seen Carr's history and, he has the ability to stop people. On the other hand, Kevin Young, who's a younger guy, I'm not going to go ahead and give him props yet because he hasn't earned it. C.J. Mosley almost got a pick that was underthrown to Connor, but it was dropped. Levine got an interception, a tip, and 2 tackles in the last 2 drives. Next week, they're at the Browns. Who am I picking up? Onwuser, if he's available. Go ahead.
I'd be picking up Jimmy Smith. Coming off 4-game suspension. He was a dude who was racking up tackles last year. So he's going to be a guy who, if he shows up and is in shape, he's going to get time.
Okay.
I think that's a good rotation in.
Is he going to take away from Carr?
I think so, but Carr's been playing really well. But honestly, Carr would be the odd man out if Jimmy Smith comes back and he's playing at the level he was last year.
Okay. All right, for the Steelers, you've got John Bostic going 6 for 9, Williams going 4 for 9, Hayden going 5 for 7 with a pass breakup, Terrell Edmonds going 4 for 7. Hargrave and Dupree both got individual sacks. There were no interceptions for the Steelers. It's interesting to note the Steelers are number 1 in penalties. This negates a lot of tackles, moves the offense down the field for the opposing team.
And you don't get rhythm. There's no rhythm with penalties.
And TJ Watt made a big tackle for loss. He did a blitz, bailout, and a blitz again. I think this is a nasty blitz scheme. I wouldn't necessarily use it every single down or every single pass opportunity, but it will help you get to the quarterback, and it's something that they won't be expecting. He had the flats and gave up contain, but he was everywhere throughout the game.
Now, I read an interesting article that a lot of people are saying that TJ Watt just doesn't have the skill moves, that he's using the same moves over and over. Did you see that during this game?
I did not. Not enough to notice a pattern.
Okay. Just interesting speculation.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. I got a little fantasy nugget, or football nugget.
Cool.
Sometimes it's nice to listen to the commentators. Sometimes it's not.
Who'd you have? Did you have Romo this week? I didn't have Romo for any of my games.
I did have Romo. I also had Ed Hockley's son again.
Yes, I didn't have him.
This is what I've had him all 4 weeks, haven't I?
No, I had him the first week.
Okay.
I had him first week for sure because I even mentioned it.
Terrell Edmonds, a guy that we expected to be playing a lot better, and he's not. Burnt in coverage multiple times and should be hot in a few weeks. We start seeing these guys start to turn it around, especially as rookies. They need that baptism of fire, and I think he's getting it right now. He did get a fumble recovery, and he broke up a deep pass to John Brown. He almost got a pick later on. So he is making flash plays. We're seeing him kind of contribute to this defense. But he has not stepped up and played that Ryan Shazier role that we expected to play, where they send all these run stuffers down, and he kind of just ball hawks. Sean Davis got a strip. Good read on a rolling tight end screen. That was a weird play. They did like an end around, a fake screen to the running back. And Williams is probably the best short yardage linebacker. Bud Dupree looked locked up on Jackson's option, and he didn't read the running back or quarterback. Later in the game, the Steelers stopped blitzing and respecting the Ravens wide receivers. They finished the game getting muscled by power runs. The interesting nugget that I got for this game is Watt and Dupree switched assignments this offseason to limit Dupree to rushing the quarterback and giving Watt some flexibility if he sees tight end or the flats. What does that mean to you?
Scheme?
Scheme,
What
yes.
does it mean to you?
Yeah, I like it because I think it creates more opportunities for Watt to get interceptions, get fumbles. We saw him in the Cleveland game last season where he made this acrobatic catch up in the air where he high pointed it on the left side of the field. You remember that pass play? Mm-hmm. And he brought it down. He was injured that game.
Yes.
Weird. Next week they play the Falcons. I'm going to pick up Edmonds. Edmonds goes 4 for 7 this game. The Falcons are going to try and target Ridley as much as possible. And I think Edmonds potentially could be that guy to shut him down because I don't think Hayden still has it.
Okay. Reasonable.
You got anything in closing?
Oh, I did want to notate some of the guys coming off suspensions, which we kind of covered.
Montez Perfect. You got
Corey Leggett. He's coming back, defensive tackle for the Chargers. You have Daryl Worley for the Raiders. He's coming off. He was, again, dropped by the Eagles, signed by the Raiders in the offseason. You have David Irving. He's coming back for the Cowboys. That'll give them a little bit more of a pass rush. So that'll be something to look forward to next week.
Who was the first one?
Corey Leggett,
Okay.
defensive tackle, which I think I think they'll need him. I think this is going to help their run defense for sure. So it's not necessarily a fantasy starter.
I got Leggett, Perfect, Irving, and Worley.
And Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy
Smith's also coming up. And I don't think I'm missing anyone. If anything, I don't think I'm missing anyone off that list. Unless there's someone who just escaped my grasp.
You got the Carolina Panthers coming back, and one other team, Washington Redskins. Anybody you're picking up for
Who's
them?
going on by next week? I think you only said one. I didn't have anyone who went on by.
It is the Bears and the Buccaneers.
So both of them do. Okay. Cool.
Always an even number, I think.
They said, I hope so. Yeah.
Most of the time. It's never one.
Yeah, the Panthers come back next week. Again, we're still going to be saying Dante Jackson.
Todd Davis still has one more game, right?
Yes. I think he got a 5-er. Yeah.
No, well, he got 4, but they had bye week 4.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be some interesting pickups. I think David Irving would be a guy who wouldn't be bad at target because he may come back and be beastly.
Especially at the defensive tackle spot.
Yeah, where you get a little bit more points and he kind of plays all over the line. So next week we'll come back with you with another podcast. You can always hit us up at idpfantasyempire.com. You always hit up us on Twitter. If you got questions, DM us. Send us your questions. We'll answer them as fast as we possibly can. You can always email us. Our email is idpfantasyempire@gmail.com. So get at us.
And you can always find our ranks at our website. There's a ranks little icon. Go ahead and click down on it, and it'll be the most recent. We try to get the ranks out to y'all at least by Thursday at noon. Sometimes that doesn't happen. We'll just post the top 100 really fast and then come back and get the rest later.
Yep.
And waiver wires are going to be there too.
Yes, sir. All right. To close out another show, as always, start building your empire
Today.